All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
What up, everybody? I am excited today. Oh, yeah. Oh, my Truth Social is going through the roof, baby. I'm rich, bitch. Check it out, all you libs in your face. Wow.
Wow, I don't know what to say to that.
I am a giant today. I am a Rockefeller today. Telling you what. Unreal. Lori, it's been so long since I've seen your name. I'm excited. Lori, early on in the super chat, greetings all, she says. A message in support from Daniel D. It can be said in this home that weekends are boring without the Mark Thompson Show live. TMNT, what is it? TMTS.
That's right.
TMTS, the Mark Thompson Show. Live. Lori, it is, first of all, let me give you a big shout out.
Big shout out.
And secondly, let me tell you that makes me cry.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
Yes, it makes me cry.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
Oh, I don't know. And I've got some hate in the chat already from the official hater of this show, and I'll share that with you as well. Lots to do today. Let's get it on. I'm so excited. My God, my Truth Social stock. Look, I can't help it. I mean, I don't want to be wealthy, but, those of you who don't believe in Donald Trump, you get what you get what craziness you subscribe to. Mm. Those of us who believe in our personal Jesus, who is DJT, we get the money.
There's never been anything like this.
That's right. And
Jesus, help us all.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's time to get on board.
I can honestly say, indeed, this is the word from the Lord, and he is not happy.
I have seen the light.
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
No, I've seen the light, Kim. You haven't seen it yet. The light is DJT. He's come to us to make us all wealthy and to truly live in the glory that is.
Someone did this to spoil our Christmas.
Now, there are some, I'm told by my financial advisors, there are some, shall we say, catches in all of this, and I'd be happy to share some of those catches as we proceed. But I first want to welcome everybody in. Would a wooden cross held up help me repel DJT? How dare you? How dare you? I mean,
a werewolf can kill a vampire. Did you know that?
That's right. So you get all you need is a werewolf on staff. Thank you. Who was it? Who was that? What's his name? Anybody? I have it. It's Herschel Walker. Come on. What's going on with you people? Does anybody read a paper around here? I blame Tony, says Kyle.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, thank you. We're in a good mood. We got a lot. Look, I love Tuesdays, and we're doing something very special, Tony. We have so much to do, and we will stay on. I want to alert our stations. We will stay on a little bit later today. We will not end right at the top of the second hour. We'll go a little bit later just to get some stuff in because we started a couple minutes late. I do want to mention that there was a huge accident, as you know, in Key Bridge in Baltimore, and we have some interesting video with commentary from somebody who sort of knows their stuff on this, and I will get to that in a minute. And then I'll get to a lot of other stuff that is affecting Americans and Californians. Among those things, the Mifepristone arguments are today before the court. And even with this court, this may be a tough one. This is the abortion pill, of course. And but we'll get to that as well. I also see something in California related to voting that really blew me away, and I have a quiz question associated with it. But there's something really cool that we're going to do that we've never done today, and I've never done before.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We're going to do it today. If you have questions or comments for David Cay Johnston, the Pulitzer Prize winner who joins us in the second hour, if you have anything you want to ask him, if you can ask it as succinctly as possible, and succinctly would be a ding word, and put it in the chat. and we will push it along to David Cay Johnston. It's going to be a little Q&A that we really haven't done in a formal way that we're going to try to do today. And if it works out, we may try to integrate that as part of David Cay Johnston's visits regularly so that when he comes, I'll ask him some questions. I'll talk about some of the stuff that's making headlines, some of the perspectives that he has on things that we are expecting him to weigh in on. But you can ask questions, and we'll get them right to David same day. So you've got to put them you can put them in the chat now. We'll star them and put them to the side, and then we will call them for all those questions for the ones that we want to get to when David arrives, which is top of the next hour. Now, I wanted to update what happened yesterday with Mark's Madness. We had, as you know, a couple of favorites going against each other. Good Day, Sir, I believe, was going up against Sayonara Sucker, right?
Good Day, Sir!
Right, against Sayonara Sucker.
Sayonara, sucker!
And Sayonara Sucker won. It's going on to the next round. 63% of the votes went to... I'm sorry, Good Day, Sir won with 63% of the votes. Sayonara Sucker went down. Again, Good Day, Sir was the winner.
Good Day, Sir!
Thank you. Sorry about that. So 63% of the votes to Good Day, Sir. Then in the second hour yesterday, we had Chit Chit Chit, which is expected maybe to win the whole tournament.
Chit Chit?
Yeah. Chit 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 took on That's Not Fake.
That's not fake. That's real.
That's real. And Chit 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 won.
Chit Chit?
Yeah, with 66% of the vote. So Chit 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 moves on to the next round. So that's the latest on Mark's Madness. Those of you who are playing, and anyone can play, you don't need a bracket. You just need desire.
Now, Mark's Madness.
Today it's on, baby. It is way on. Here are a couple of favorites as well. It will be either...
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
It's a producer or...
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Yeah, either...
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
Or you vote for...
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
All right, which one of you are producer? You can vote right now in the chat, and good luck! Oh my God, I'm excited. Wow.
I love both of those. That's challenging to pick one.
That's what it's about now. Now it gets tougher. The ones we love go up against each other. Wow. Pretty intense.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This show, if you're just joining us, was born out of a radio show in San Francisco, California. The radio show, the radio station, giant, massive blowtorch of the West Coast, KGO, it went away. It seemed inconceivable at the time, but it did happen. A corporate conglomerate essentially just decided, hey, fire everybody, buy everybody out, let's run syndicated programming, it's cheaper.
Yep.
So they did, and they do. But we took the show here to YouTube. Now, why do I mention it today? Because I still want to make it clear that we retain a connection to the Bay Area. So we try to integrate San Francisco stuff and Bay Area stuff from time to time. You'll note we talk about all the problems in San Francisco, all the problems in the Bay Area, and we also talk about the fun stuff there and everywhere, but I'm just saying we keep an eye on San Francisco. So, with that lengthy preamble, I wanted to mention that San Francisco's 420 event at Hippie Hill has been canceled.
What?
I know.
Really?
I mean, that's
Where are my weed smokers at?
Well, they're not at Hippie Hill on 420. This event in Golden Gate Park will not be happening as had been planned this year. Less than a month away from the event, Kim. It's shocking.
What?
I know.
Yeah.
The reasons given were citywide budget cutbacks, which makes staffing difficult, and the climate of the cannabis industry. So, in other words, sponsorships are hard to come by. In fact, one of the organizers in a post said, we have been unable to secure enough financial sponsorship to get everything required for a safe, clean, city and state compliant event. And this is an event that's usually held on April 20th. Mm-hmm. We had the guys who actually created 420. We had them on this show. It started in Marin.
Yeah.
You know. It's supposed to be the largest free cannabis event in the state. 20,000 people showed up last year to Golden Gate Park.
Well, here's the problem. Even if you say the event is canceled, people are still going to show up for it.
Yeah, but they're not. But there won't be the booths and the food and the. You know what I mean? But you're right. There'll be an informal group.
Still be a bunch of people that are stoned in the city on 420, and there's still not enough police officers to handle all of it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
There will be sports activities held that day. SF Recreation and Parks has said that they are going to run a volleyball and kickball tournament, and there will not be a stage, though, or live event. So, I mean, it will be much different, even if, people kind of do their own number. It will be far different.
It's like when they try to cancel Halloween in the Castro, and everyone shows up anyway. It's like, you know what? You can say it's canceled.
Yeah.
They can do without the booth. They just want to get stoned on Hippie Hill. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's you're right. There is there's no turning that back. So anyway, that's the latest on 420. There will be no organized event in San Francisco. It is canceled on Hippie Hill.
The Mark Thompson Show.
As Kim says, it may live on in some form.
Yeah.
I do think it's worth a note that everybody's favorite ex-president, Donald Trump, big surge in his trading debut of his Truth Social, his media company.
There's never been anything like this.
Well, it has soared. I mean, at the open, the social media venture going up 59%. Maybe you can find a current stock ticker on it, Tony, But I'll say this.
What's the trade under Truth Social something?
No, no. Remember, I told you the other day, it trades under DJT, the stock symbol DJT. Yeah. So the DJT stock, which is short for anybody? Donald J. Trump. Thank you very much.
Or maybe it's do jail time. I saw earlier in the chat. Thank you, whoever posted that.
So DJT is a stock that represents this Truth Social company. And I have to say, as I was mentioning the other day, we can touch on it with David Cay Johnston, who joins us in the second hour. I point to the fact that there is really no company there. I mean, it's a weird fact. I mean, I understand that it is a thing. It's an entity. But there it is.
It's down, what, 23.23%?
That's the transportation average. That's the Dow Jones Transportation Average, which is also DJT.
DJT, that's the wrong DJT.
I want the stock symbol, DJT. Okay.
You could tell I'm a big stock trader over here.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, was that Kim? Who I was going to blame Tony.
Kim, how are you?
Okay.
Yeah, blame Tony. That works.
No. The stock is way up, and this takes a company that had just over $3 million in sales. Okay, that's not a lot of money, and lost nearly $50 million to the first 9 months of last year. It takes it into the billions of dollars. This surge in the stock. Now, it kind of came in through a back door with a little less regulation through the way it was released. There it is, Trump Media and Technology
I'm cooking
Group.
with fire. Yeah. $74.20. It's up $24 a share, up 48%. Look at that.
So, I mean, that'll make a lot of people a lot of money. Chief among them, perhaps, President Trump. He has a lot of legal challenges. He has a lot of financial challenges, and this will be money that will go to Trump. However, Trump is not allowed to sell any of this stock that is now worth all this money for 6 months unless he was to get a waiver from the board. Now, the board is populated with all these people who are Trumpies, right? They're rich guys who are in Trump's orbit. So you'd say, well, so he can get a waiver and he can get that money if he needs it. The problem with that is that if you give Trump a waiver, you essentially send a message that the stock is going to be dumped by a lot of the key people who are associated with the stock and the company, chief among them Donald Trump. And frankly, the company, as I was kind of saying before, is a social media company that is all about Trump. I mean, it is Trump. In other words, without Trump, it doesn't exist really. I mean, no one's going to sue. As it is, they're challenged. They've lost 25% or 28% of users over just the last couple of months. And it is likely that you would lose the lion's share of users were Trump to no longer really be part of the company.
Is this only the Truth Social, or are there other things attached to this Trump Media and Technology Group?
From what I know, it's just this Truth Media, which is, I think, essentially this.
Did we realize that it was this valuable? Because I thought this was a struggling company that was really like not much. It's
So
not a
you've really-
Facebook. It's not an Instagram. It's a little social media company where he goes to spout off. Isn't that what it is?
Yes, and like-minded people go to spout off. But I would say this, and I'm really glad you make this point. That doesn't mean that in the run-up of the stock, a lot of people can't make a lot of money. I will refer you to GameStop. Remember what happened with GameStop?
Yeah.
GameStop was
Google it.
essentially an effort on the part of the community to run a stock up because they saw so much being shorted. They were kind of trying to slap back at some of the big investors. In this case, you could play this open, which has been played, obviously. Now, you have maybe some sophisticated investors, and you probably have a lot of people who are just Trumpies who want to buy into this, and it's run the stock up. And you could then dump the stock at the end of the trading day and have made a lot of money. I mean, it is, on some level, you could argue. Now, I'm not saying this is what was the idea, but Trump has taken his brand and give the guy credit. You could consider it duped enough people. You can consider it just, put one over on enough people. There are enough people who are so ready to turn in their 401k and send Trump money. This is a chance to invest and actually make money. And so you could call it on some level a pump and dump. You're seeing this stock go up with this huge surge of interest, and then there'll be a lot of investors who are here on the open who will dump the stock. The world just got a little more disgusting. Hopefully he will do something that will get some insider trading charges against him. I don't know that he has to do anything. I mean, he's someone who sits there and will likely control a lot of this money. It will increase his bottom line by more than $4 billion, perhaps, and make him legit wealthy. We'll talk to David Cay Johnston about that. But he knows how to exploit idiots. I think that's not, thank you, Heather, I certainly think that there is some naivete and anger and, all that stuff that goes into Trump. The politics of grievance. Now, you take all of that and you go from selling sneakers and steaks and all the other crap that he's sold, and now you're selling stock. Wait until people look at the financials, says Oneness 100. Trump can't sell his stock for 6 months, and he can only sell a small portion at a time. That's right. And that's what is typically the case with founders' shares. Otherwise, you'd have those who create a company on the open dump their stocks and grab the money. You can't have that happen. You need faith in the company for it to have any sort of long-term success or even medium-term success. But that's what's happening with Truth Social. So it's a run-up. It's a legit run-up. If you bought in, you can legitimately cash out and make money today. How long will that be the case? Hard to say. And there's way more to come. And as I say, Trump would likely not get that waiver if that board of directors, the board that has to grant him a waiver to sell stock, if they care at all about the future of the company. I'm saying that it's temporary because Trump ruins everything he touches, says Judy. Well, yeah. I mean, beyond that, I think just looking at the specifics, there isn't a there. This is really buying into this Truth Social. And as Kim says, it's a company that's been it's been barely used. Truth Social doesn't stack up at all against the other social media companies.
No,
and it's lost usership since the beginning.
They were saying that they needed this big cash infusion in order to keep that company going. And as someone mentioned in the chat, the question is, will there be a way then, if the company gets this cash infusion, to then funnel that money into Trump's account? And as someone else mentioned, the SEC will probably be watching closely.
Yeah, I mean, he had NFTs. I forgot about the NFTs. Thank you, OCB. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, he had crypto. I think wasn't there a crypto coin or something that Trump was pushing? So again, look, the idea there's nothing damnable about the fact that there is exuberance around a stock that comes out. I mean, it does happen a lot. Any new company with the kind of shimmer on it that some of these companies have had usually does well. You look at the Facebooks of they look at the Beyond Meat people who did, I think they 400% in the first few months after they're open, and then the stock cascaded down. Something shady will happen, says Tommy Guy is here. Look, betting on shady around Trump is a really good bet. Yeah. So I don't know, but I think that it's...
don't talk to me that way.
I'm just saying it's probably a good bet that something shady will happen. In any case, this is a legit opportunity to probably, what I would suggest, pump and dump. So there is that. That's the latest.
That means something different to mothers.
Just saying that. I mean from that? Maybe you can explain. No, go ahead. Explain it.
When you pump and dump, it means you're pumping breast milk, but you dump it because you had alcohol. So you drank, maybe you had a few glasses of wine, then you got to get rid of that supply and get the next one in. So when you say pump and dump, it makes me think of breastfeeding.
No?
Just so you know. Yeah.
How sweet.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I got a comment.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
God, I've gotten so much. I really wanted to share with you, actually, because I had a cool Patreon comment from a guy who regularly contacts us on Patreon. Thank you, everybody who is part of our Patreon community. One of the ways we stay on the air is through Patreon and PayPal support. And Gary always contacts me on Patreon and has all kinds of interesting stuff he sends me and also suggestions for the show, this kind of thing. And I appreciate it. A lot of people do that. That's really cool. So today he had sent along, first of all, I want to shout out to a new Patreon subscriber or supporter.
Big shout out.
Yeah. For $20 a month, B.I. just became a $20 member. Thank you, nice. B.I. Big shout out again.
Big shout out.
Yeah. But Gary sent me something. It was a link to this guy who broke down the essential elements associated with that bridge collapse. Mm-hmm. There was that bridge collapse outside of Baltimore in the harbor there. And he broke down this. This is not Gary, but Gary sent me the link to this guy. So for those who are curious about it, I mean, it's a pretty substantial, horrible, awful thing going on. Here is the link to a guy who will break it down. It'll be just a couple of minutes, but it really does take you through what likely happened, at least as we sit here and watch at this juncture. Go ahead, Tony. Play a little bit if you would, please.
So, see the black smoke still coming out of the ship at this time. The ship now is coming out of the channel entirely. She would not have tugs on her. She would have had tugs to take her off the berth at Dundalk, but not once she was underway and had propulsion. This ship, Singapore flag, Singapore registered company. Dolly is one of these ships that basically is leased by the larger operating companies. So we're not exactly sure whose route she was on, what company she was servicing. She was out of Baltimore heading to Colombo. So she was heading down to the Panama Canal, and she was going to be heading across the Pacific. At this point, she is heading right for the pylons. And understand, once you take out a pylon on a bridge, that's it. These bridges are designed to rest on top of that pylon. She's going to sideswipe it. This is going to be the worst kind of bridge disaster in the United States since Tampa back in the 1980s. And even if you drop the anchors, which we know she drops the port anchor, looking at the image from helicopters, the port anchor was not just dropped, but it was angling aft, meaning that it dragged. But at any sort of speed, it's not going to stop the vessel. She would have dropped, I'm not sure if she dropped the starboard anchor. That's her hitting right there. You can see the big splash as she hits the piling right there. There are barriers around the pilings, but not enough. And that will cause the collapse and just the horror of this event taking place here. And that is the tragedy right there.
And he goes on to summarize what he just told us, but essentially what he was saying is it looks like there was a power outage on board. After that, they dropped anchor to try to stop the forward momentum of the vessel, but that there was such speed that it was impossible to do that. He got into I watched the whole video, and he got into a couple of intricacies related to dropping anchor and dropping multiple anchors and how that twists the vessel, and it's very difficult to do. But you end up, I thought, with a pretty good sort of basic analysis of what happened, the loss of power, and there are the pictures. It's a brutal scene. It's a brutal scene. And there was a collision with this vessel, I believe, prior, wasn't there, Kim? I mean, this isn't its first rodeo, sadly, on this. There was one involved in Antwerp in 2016, same ship.
Wow.
And it was reportedly detained in Belgium, again, after doing significant damage in damaging part of the hull of the ship in good weather, they also add here. So it was not a situation informed by the elements, you know. Anyway, that's I thought that was interesting. And thanks, Gary, who, again, reaches us through Patreon. If you are a Patreon supporter, you can reach us through Patreon, but anybody can reach me anytime. It's the Mark Thompson Show at gmail.com. Put in the, because that's what the email address is, the Mark Thompson Show at gmail.com. And I will respond, and I appreciate a lot of the stuff you send. I try to follow up if I can. And in this case, that was a really good one from Gary. Gary also had something else for us, and then I'll turn it over to Kim.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
Gary had, he said, I'm looking at my Good Day, Sir mug, and there really is something to be said about a Mark Thompson Show drop mug that is factory made without obvious evidence of any sort of applique or decal. He also had suggested that we do the drop mug so you could actually put on the sticker you wanted on your own mug. But you can kind of, like, this is a sticker mug. There's the Why Are You Yelling mug. Maybe we will update our mugs to include some of these. Like, this is a sticker on a red cup. And it's a really cool.
Good.
Yeah, it looks good. And these are, all the stuff that we sell is pretty good quality. And then, you know, we put it in the dishwasher and everything. It doesn't show any signs of wear. But he's saying you could, as a part of an ongoing pre-printed drop mug inventory, have these sheets of MTS drop decals. They might still be available and either be sold separately and or be included free with each order of somewhat less expensive MTS mug stuff that comes with a blank backside. That's from Gary. Gary, let me say this. It's all I can do to get this damn show on every day, okay? So that is requiring a level of attention that we are just short on. Now, Gary, I will throw it to you. Maybe you are the guy who wants to take the lead on that. If you do, contact me again, and we'll try to make that happen. Make a chit mug, they're saying. Yeah, I know. Chit is popular. Chit is the one that many of the kids think will go all the way. So I wonder if there could have been a cyber attack on the ship's systems. This will be interesting to see because, again, it was a power outage likely. That is a big, full ship, and the opening is very high. The opening can only be so wide. It has been adequate for years. It's just an accident. You remember we had him on the air twice with us, I think. The guy who's the shipping and he's the fulfillment
the
expert.
Logistics.
Yeah, logistics expert.
Yeah.
We should have him back because he also has some pretty big revelations about the shipping industry, and they relate to what was in the chat just a moment ago. That's why I mention it. We will have him back. So we got a lot to do. I haven't even gotten to the Supreme Court, which is handling a really brutal situation with the Mifepristone, which is the abortion pill. We'll get David Cay Johnston's view of that. It seems as though it, as aggressive as this court is, and as conservative as this court is, and as informed by religiosity as this court is, it still may not happen. So we'll get to all of that right now.
I can't believe it! Mark's Madness.
We're in the middle of Mark's Madness. It's my favorite time of year, baby. Get out of my way. Here's a close one going. You vote for either.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
Or,
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
that's right, you vote for producer.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're
Producer,
doing.
no idea.
Hey,
Or
which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
only one can go on. We'll continue to the end of this hour. And then you can vote in the community section of our YouTube channel. You can vote there till midnight. So go to the YouTube channel that is this show, The Mark Thompson Show on YouTube, okay? It'll say live, videos, shorts, community. And you click on community and you can vote there. So producer, no idea. Which one of you right now locked in a pretty tight battle? And battles are going to get tighter. So there should be a special mug for the winner. I agree. You know, Becky, we had a trophy, and we had trophies for the top 5.
Oh, here we go again.
Yeah, and I gave them to Albert.
Albert, thank you.
I did. I had them sent to KGO, and apparently they were lost in the ether. I do not know what happened. We showed them on the air. We showed them on like Instagram stories. But how many times can I vote, says Walter. Technically, I guess you could vote as many times as you want. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I mean, one vote is, one person, one vote is the ideal. But you want to vote more than once, you probably can. I don't know if YouTube locks you out of voting more than once. What's the story on that, Tony? Do you know?
If you do it in a different browser.
Oh, I see.
Or
You really want to.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, there's ways.
Yeah.
Early and often, right?
Early and often, right? The Chicago way. All right. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
And give us a thumbs up if you would. It helps us in the algorithm of YouTube. Kim's News. And we continue. David Cay Johnston, the second hour. If you have any questions or comments for David, today we're doing something new. He will take your questions and comments. So send them along. Send them now. Before we even get into the conversation. It could be about Trump. It could be about the Supreme Court. It could be about, most anything that David's spoken of. And we'll look forward to integrating those comments. All right, Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. As Mark mentioned, this horrible story out of Baltimore, emergency crews were still searching for several people that were missing after the collapse of this major Baltimore Bridge during the overnight hours. Officials say at least 6 construction workers were on the Francis Scott Key Bridge when it came down after being hit by this big cargo ship you can see here. The 1.5 mile long bridge spans the Patapsco River from Baltimore's Inner Harbor to the Chesapeake Bay. No more. President Biden, meanwhile, is pledging full federal help after this massive bridge collapse. Speaking from the White House today, the president called it a terrible accident. He said he plans to visit Baltimore as soon as possible, and he noted that he has traveled over the Francis Scott Key Bridge many times, and he said he's well aware of its importance to that area. Mark also mentioned the Mifepristone, and we do know the Supreme Court is considering this case that could limit access to the abortion pill Mifepristone. The justices are reviewing an appeals court decision blocking recent FDA changes that made this medication more widely available. Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar is arguing on behalf of the Biden administration that this ruling would inflict grave harm on women across the country.
You know who's arguing the case for limiting it is Josh Hawley's wife.
Oh, really?
Erin Hawley, yeah.
Oh, I guess that's
she's
not a
representing
surprise,
the
right?
plaintiffs. And what's that?
I guess that's not a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, it really isn't. They're big anti-women's choice people.
Yeah.
Really big, both of them, Josh Hawley and his wife. And so she is, again, she's the lawyer representing the plaintiffs in this case.
Hard to believe a woman could stand up there and say, take away my rights, but okay.
Well, there are a lot of women. Yeah. I mean, as you know, it's not gender specific. It's pretty incredible.
Well, speaking of this case, the Golden State, California here, reaffirming its commitment to protect access to medication abortions like Mifepristone. California's Governor Gavin Newsom, pictured here, is urging the court to preserve access to Mifepristone, calling the appeals court decision unpopular, adding they fly in the face of science and they put women at risk. State Attorney General Rob Bonta says upholding full access to the pill is part of California's ongoing fight for reproductive freedom. Bonta, alongside 24 state attorneys general nationwide, filed an amicus brief earlier this year supporting the federal government's regulations involving Mifepristone. Again, the justice is reviewing the appeals court decision, blocking recent FDA changes that made this drug more widely available. They don't get away with that here in California. Fingers crossed. Donald Trump, that stock just going up and up and up. His social media company's worth jumped more than 50% after it began public trading this morning under the ticker symbol DJT on Wall Street. The trading in the Trump Media and Technology Group was briefly stopped because of the volatility. That was at about 9:40 this morning. Trump's net worth has reportedly soared to $6.5 billion after that stock.
What can you tell us about the scene?
His net worth is soared, Larry. $6.3 billion or whatever she said.
What can you tell us about the scene?
He's on his way to being a legit billionaire now.
Still doesn't have access to the cash, though. That's the problem.
That's right.
Can't get it when he needs it. Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks founder, is being spared for now from extradition back to the United States, where he's wanted on spying charges. A court in London ruling today the United States government should have no more than 3 weeks to provide a series of assurances around Assange's First Amendment rights and declare that he will not receive the death penalty if tried here. So, for now, he doesn't have to come back. Mill Valley, so beautiful, right? It's just a lovely little town, very picturesque. Some views of the San Francisco Bay. Here you can see a view of Mount Tamalpais. Looks like a peaceful, serene place to be.
Wow, that's extraordinary, yeah.
Right? Until...
Oh, no.
The swastikas painted on Ukrainian flags in Mill Valley.
Oh, my God.
Come on. You take a beautiful place like this and you ugly it up. And I show you this picture because I'm not going to show pictures of the ugliness. The flags were on private property at 2 different homes. According to police, vandalism occurred between Friday evening and Saturday morning. As of yesterday, there were no suspects in this case, but police are reviewing footage from surveillance cameras, investigators treating the vandalism as a hate crime as they spray these symbols of hate on flags everywhere, or at least 2 places in Mill Valley. Hate that. There is a new documentary coming out, and it's about the Beach Boys. A lot of people love the Beach Boys. Their concerts still pretty popular. Music's still pretty popular. Right here they are. Well, there's a new documentary premiering on Disney Plus in May. The Beach Boys, it's called, very inventive name, will feature previously unreleased footage, including new interviews with members Brian Wilson, Mike Love, and Al Jardine, among others. The film is described as a celebration of the legendary band that revolutionized pop music. So,
yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that the lottery is looking pretty good right now. We saw it earlier, but I'll share it again. We've got, some pretty big numbers coming up with the Super Lottery. Now,
bigger than my Truth Social stock? Maybe I'll move all my Truth Social holdings. I'll sell my Truth Social stuff. I mean, Tony, can you get my broker on the phone? We'll dump our Truth Social, we'll put it all into lottery tickets.
Thanks, Tony.
I, for some reason, think that the DJT stock is a better bet today.
Oh, okay.
But it's still looking pretty good. Mega Millions, no one hit it last time. 1.13 billion, the jackpot. You don't get that number, of course, if you take the cash option. The Powerball, 865 million. No one hit that last night. So 21 million for the Super Lotto Plus.
Again, Kim has on the record, like anything shy of 10 million, she's not even interested in.
No. You can leave this. You can just discount the Super Lotto, but go over here to the Mega Millions. 1.13. That's popping. That's a popping number.
She says a girl likes nice things was the actual quote that Kim offered, and I understand it. So
Kim, how are you?
All right. It's good stuff.
Mama needs a new pair of shoes.
That's right. Okay.
Maybe a new purse. Yeah, perhaps. This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And we love it. It's so good. The tea is in my cup today. The coffee is in the Mark Thompson Show coffee
cup,
mug.
baby. I'm drinking
over
it right
there
now.
in the big
My
studio.
second pot.
He's got the red cup. He's sipping it. Check out the website. There's all kinds of stuff on there. I have to go on today and order some more tea bags, which I like because there's no metal, there's no plastic. And so it's they're really good tea bags. So I have to go order more because I have enough tea, but not enough bags. You can get 10% off just for being a Mark Thompson Show listener. You enter Mark T at checkout at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And when you do, it's definitely the good stuff. Again, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
Go for it. Enjoy it. Do it. Get on it. Don't miss it.
I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah. Come on, everybody.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
I'm rich with my Truth Social stock. Woohoo!
I come from regular stock.
There's a reason that this place is fun. Don't ever use that word.
What are the porn stars doing, Mark?
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
What you say is the political dogma that they're trying to shove down our throats.
Straight up, right in, no problem.
Morning.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Cuatro años más.
I love it when you're angry.
I don't wear a mask for the same reason I don't wear underwear. Things gotta breathe.
The science is ridiculous.
Do you have a secret talent?
It's fantastic.
You get nothing. Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Did you really just do that?
Hey, Mark. It's George Santos here.
Yeah. Loving it all. Loving it all. I need to do it. Tony, hit me.
Mark's Madness.
Where are we on things? Today we've got a real good one going. Yeah, this is tough. It's either
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
or
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
again you vote for
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
or you vote for
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
again. It's producer no idea or which one of you. Right now producer leads 60% to 40%. But you can vote till midnight. In the community section of our YouTube channel, you can vote till midnight. But the live voting on the show will end in just a few minutes. It'll be less than 10 minutes. There'll be two other competitors up in Mark's Madness in the next hour. That is the state of things. Wow.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Anybody here not had their mansion and properties raided by the feds today? Anybody? All right, just checking because Diddy had a. It's never a good day when the feds come and they hit all of your properties at once. It suggested two properties, one in Miami, one in LA, but I'd heard that it was possible that a third property somewhere around New York was also being investigated. This is part of an ongoing sex trafficking investigation. So, I mean, that's, again, to add to the misery. Many I know, or actually a handful of people I know, who are sort of connected to that world of recording industry and P. Diddy. Again, they're not in his actual orbit, but they sort of have operated in the same universe. They say, dude, long time coming. I mean, this is, yeah. So it is not clear officially whether Sean Combs was the target of the investigation. There are no officials who are authorized to publicly discuss details. But this is Homeland Security, okay? This is not the FBI. And they executed law enforcement actions, this is a quote, as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles and HSI Miami.
And it's for alleged human trafficking, is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I think, among the things they're looking at.
I wondered why that would be Homeland Security instead of FBI.
It's actually Homeland Security and Homeland Security Investigation. They are separate entities, from what I'm told.
But neither is the FBI. Yeah. So the question still lingers. That'd be a good question for Steve Gregory. We should get him back from iHeart. Steve has... Steve, I talked to him yesterday. Steve said, "Oh yeah, I knew about this a week and a half ago."
Oh wow!
Wow, oh man. So he's pretty mobbed up with law enforcement contacts. Mm-hmm. In February, I'll remind you that a music producer filed a lawsuit against Sean Combs, and that lawsuit alleged that Combs coerced the music producer to solicit prostitutes and pressured him to have sex with them. Combs' attorney, Sean Hawley, has said that those allegations, quote, are faced with overwhelming, indisputable proof that the claims are complete lies. Then his former protege and his girlfriend, the R&B singer Cassie, sued him in November, alleging years of sexual abuse, including the R word. The lawsuit said that he forced her to have sex with male prostitutes while he filmed them. That suit was settled the day after it was filed. You may remember it. We talked about it briefly on the show. Another of Combs' accusers was a woman who said that the rap producer, again, the R word, when she was just 17. So this is an ongoing situation. As I say, many who are close to it say, he's a guy who's operated in an unsavory way in this world for quite some time. But again, no official word out of his camp, aside from the fact that those properties were raided. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Shohei Ohtani, Major League Baseball's highest paid player, breaking his silence yesterday about the gambling scandal that prompted the Dodgers to fire that interpreter last week because it was thought that the interpreter was involved in gambling. And that, worse than that, the interpreter was accused of stealing $4.5 million from Ohtani to pay those gambling debts. He said yesterday, "I never bet on baseball or any other sports. I never asked somebody to do that on my behalf. And I've never gone through a bookmaker to bet on sports." He signed a $700 million deal in the offseason to join the Dodgers. Says he did not know about the translators gambling until after a Dodgers game in Korea last week. Up until a couple of days ago, he said, "I didn't even know that this was happening." He says that the translator has been stealing money from my account and has told lies.
I mean, I guess when you're that rich, you don't notice $4.5 million missing from your bank account. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I don't believe that you don't. If you don't notice it, it's possible somebody else notices it. Mm-hmm. When you're that rich, you have layers. I'd suggest that there are even more layers. There's just sort of the sense that he's got so much money, he's not keeping track of the phone. Yeah, but he's got 5 people minimum keeping track of that stuff.
Right. Accountants, investors who might notice something awry, right?
There's no way that $4.5 million is pulled out of an account without the bank contacting someone. Now, I've heard, well, he could have access to accounts because they were really like best friends. They were, like brothers. Maybe, again, I'd suggest that big chunks of money don't flow out of accounts without going through somebody else, a business manager or whomever. So, again, this is interesting. Wes is saying, I bet the interpreter Please don't use "I bet" in the context of this story. How much did you bet on this? I bet this interpreter probably kept him isolated from Japanese-speaking people and probably manipulated translations. I mean, that may be, but again, I just don't think you missed $4.5 million. I mean, going away. Maybe MC Hammer was his business manager, says Chris. I don't think you. Even if he didn't take it all at one time, as Edward says, I think you'd see these large transactions. You'd see a constellation of transactions. And
you don't take out the $4.5 million all at once.
Right. I mean,
Right.
I'm just saying, even if you don't, and this is, by the way, all going to come out of the investigation, because two things have to happen. One is there's an investigation as to exactly how this money was pulled out. Was it 20,000 amounts, 50,000 amounts? You still have to do a lot of it to get to 4.5 million, right? Even at 50,000 a crack. But the other thing I would say is, if there's really, and this is what's being alleged here, a theft of $4.5 million, there will be charges. And if there are no charges, then you know what? You know that it's just a story. Because why wouldn't there be charges on someone who stole $4.5 million? So this is huge. As you know, there's no gambling on baseball. Baseball doesn't mind you gambling, but they don't want you gambling on baseball. So that's the latest on Ohtani. He did face the media, and he said all the right things. But the question is, really, what will happen going forward? There's a cloud right now, certainly, around this issue. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
David Cay Johnston joins us in just minutes. Will you keep me posted on when he jumps into the green room? So I don't want to keep him waiting. But the thing that we are doing that, look at this. Ron says, I set my bank to alert me of transactions over $1.
Yes.
Wow.
My husband did the same thing. If I spend a certain amount, he'll go, hey, would you buy? Not because it's a problem. I mean, if whatever, but just because he's alerted to things. So It would be strange if someone with that much money and with, as you say, that many layers, that someone wouldn't be alerted that something is happening there.
Yeah, it's a story that really has, I think, strange credulity. I have the, Chad says, if it's found Ohtani bet on baseball and he is allowed to stay in the game, is this Pete Rose's ticket to the Hall of Fame? Yeah, Chad, thank you for the super sticker. I don't see having taken such a,
Big shout out.
If you go into the locker rooms of baseball, there are signs that kind of remind you. I know this only because I've read a bunch of reports on this, and they remind you, no betting on baseball, Gambling on baseball is not permitted, and they're brutally insistent on this thing. In other words, you don't miss it. I don't care what language you speak. So I think there's
not a good look.
Yeah, it's not a good look indeed. So anyway, that's the latest on what's happening with this phenom. Probably the best thing to happen to baseball in years, maybe ever. And he's embroiled in what is it at best a mystery, and at worst a true scandal. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
This guy's a Pulitzer Prize winner, and he is so great to spend time with us. He has a new column, and it's in the New Republic, and it's really good. And we'll put a link to it in this video. So underneath this video, you'll be able to see the link to David's latest column. It's called "Today is the Day That 50 Years of Grifting Finally Comes to an End." He is the co-founder of DC Report. He's the multiple best-selling author, Pulitzer Prize winner, David Cay Johnston.
Well, Mark.
Hello, sir. How are you?
And I got breaking news for you.
Yes?
Just within the last few minutes, Judge Juan Marchand, who is overseeing the criminal trial in New York State Court that begins April 15th, has put a gag order on Donald Trump. Because this morning, as you can see, I'm holding it up here on Truth Social, Donald Trump threatened the judge, and more importantly, he threatened the judge's daughter.
Wow.
And several judges have put Trump on notice that, you can say whatever you want about me, but you do not go after court staff, you do not go after witnesses, you do not go after our families. And in this morning, after saying the whole state thing is a Joe Biden operation, which is absurd. Biden has nothing to do with it. It's a state, not federal case. He says he says his, without naming him, that Alan Weisselberger, his longtime finance guy, is being pressured to say bad things about Donald, bad things that are untrue. And if he doesn't do it, he's going to get 15 years in jail. And accuses the judge of a Trump derangement syndrome. And he says his daughter is a senior executive at a super liberal Democrat law firm, that works for Adam Shifty Schiff, the Democratic National Committee, the Dem Senate majority, and even crooked Joe Biden. And that got Donald Trump a gag order. And remember, if you're out on bail, and Donald Trump is out on bail in several cases, you are not a free citizen. You are free only so long as you follow the rules of the court. And I think Trump is lucky after this one, frankly, that he wasn't thrown in jail.
Wow, that's extraordinary. It's such a low rent smear too. He's so low rent in his.
I mean, the
cannot stop himself.
Line here is he just can't stop himself because he doesn't have any of the limits and guideposts that the rest of us have.
And he's gotten away with it for so long. That is big news. So this is the gag order that were he to post something like that, or even like 50% of the toxicity of that post, if you were to post it again, David, you're saying it could really, they'd jail him.
Oh, I think that without question, the judge has made it very clear this is the last straw, the last time you cross the line. And so if he puts up another thing that takes, brings up not the judge, I don't think the judge will act about himself. By the way, the judge in this case, the criminal case that about to go to trial in New York State Court, the civil case in New York Court, the federal case in Washington, and the Georgia case, all of those judges and prosecutors are under police protection. They get picked up by detectives, driven to and from work. They have cop cars outside their homes because of Donald's comments. And of course, Donald will say, I never told anybody to go hurt anybody. And my answer to that is, the chairman of ExxonMobil has never pumped gasoline either.
Wow, that's a great retort. Yeah. So, David, the other thing I want to add, first of all, we have some questions for you waiting, because today with David Cay Johnston, if there are viewers or listeners who have questions, please throw them into the chat and we'll try to get them to David right away. Make them succinct if you can. We'll get to the point, and they can be a comment or a question. But I did want to ask you about what happened between your last visit and this visit, something that you had sort of anticipated as a possibility, and that is that there might be a reduction in the bond number for Donald Trump. And he was even given an extension on the amount of time he has to come up with the money.
So the reason you post a bond is to, until appeals are completed, prevent the seizure of your assets. If you lose a building and it gets resold to somebody, you can't get it back unless they want to sell it back to you. A bond is not punitive. That's a fundamental important concept. It is not punitive. It is to guarantee payment. So the court in this case reduced the bond to half of the underlying disgorgement Trump has to make. It was $353 million. The court rounded to 175 and ignored the interest. And that's not that unusual. I mean, you go back 42 years, I think, to the fight between Pennzoil and Texaco, or these two big oil companies. And the bond in that case would have been in the billions of dollars, and the court only made it, I think, 5 or 10% of the total amount. And in the end, everything got negotiated and worked out. Trump's buildings aren't going anywhere. And the interest continues to mount at the rate of about $87,000 a day. It is not cumulative, by the way. You don't get interest on the interest. The interest is just on the base amount. Nonetheless, $87,000 a day. Wow. You go a year and you're talking now in 7 figures.
So he has 10 days to come up with the money, and he now, it seems, will likely come up with the bond, the whole amount.
I think so. He says he will. Now, this is very different than what his lawyers represented to Judge Engoron. They said it was impossible to do this. They said it in open court. They said it in caper filings. And once again, Donald Trump has just gone off and said what he said. What we probably will find, I can't say probably, what we may well find out happened here is Donald Trump in August of 2020, as president, issued an executive order banning TikTok and a second Chinese app. He called them a threat. A judge threw that out because, of course, the president can't do that. You can't restrain somebody's First Amendment rights unilaterally. Trump continued to attack TikTok. Then early in March, he met a Philadelphia man named Peter Yass, who is an actual billionaire. He's worth $25 billion. Trump says he only met him for a few minutes, but he met him. And that person, Peter Yass, is the biggest single donor to Republican candidates and causes in the United States. And he owns 7% of ByteDance, the parent of TikTok. That's what made him, in fact, most of his $25 million fortune was from buying ByteDance stock when it was really cheap. And all of a sudden, Donald is now in favor of TikTok. He doesn't want to ban TikTok. Now, his argument is, well, it's because of Facebook and other social media, but those were still the same issues in the summer of 2022. And in my view, what this shows very clearly is how Donald's policies are for sale. You know, do what I want, put money in my pocket, and I'll give you what you want. And that's not how the law is supposed to work. It's not how our government is supposed to work. And so I expect we will find out that just as Trump had to effectively borrow money from Chubb, the Swiss insurance company, to post the $83 million bond in the E. Jean Carroll second defamation case, that if Trump puts up this money, it will somehow be connected to Peter Yass. There is one other way for Trump to do this. He can't sell his stock in the company with the stock ticker DJT, and it's gone up more than 40% just today. So if he could sell it all at the current price, he would get over $5 billion. But he can't sell it for 6 months. And the directors are all either appointees of his or family members. If they were to waive the requirement and let him sell the stock and it tanks, as is almost certain to happen, they'd all be sued by shareholders, and it wouldn't be a hard case to make. Just for people who don't know, Donald's company had revenues of less than $5 million last year and lost $49 million, but it's being valued by the market right now at over $8 billion. Well,
we talked about this last hour. I'm so glad you mentioned this, David, because I was saying that this really feels like a pump and dump operation, although I don't know who's going to dump it. I mean, I don't know because the dumper won't be Trump.
So here's what Trump can do. He can go to someone like Peter Yass, who has a big financial firm, and pledge his shares to him. He owns 58% of the company. And let's assume the market price at this moment is $5 billion. And Peter Yass might say, well, okay, I'll loan you $3 billion against that. You can't make any withdrawals that I don't approve of beyond the first maybe $500 million, what he needs to cover the damages. And then Peter Yass would go, or someone like him, and short the stock, that is, sell shares they don't own. Then when the stock collapses, they replace the shares they have to replace from Donald's account, and they make money either way. If the other side of these deals are, if the stock goes up further, typically the person on the financial side of this gives you the first 35% increase. So $1 billion stock, they loan you hundreds of millions. If the stock goes up, when it hits 1.35 billion, you start making money again. If it falls to zero, they've shorted the stock. I'm reminded here of the movie Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and I can't remember Murphy's first name.
Eddie Murphy, sure.
Eddie Murphy, thank you. And there's a scene in which the two of them are addressing, or Eddie Murphy is addressing Ralph Bellamy and Don Amici, who are these commodities traders, and they explain to him that whether the price of oranges or anything else goes up or down, they make money. And Eddie Murphy goes, "Oh, I gets it. Use bookies." That's
right.
what Wall Street does. Wall Street is set up. They make money. Stocks go up, stocks go down. They make money both ways. So it's possible Donald could do this. It is absolutely legal. and there is no requirement under the securities laws that he disclose it. There may be under election laws. I don't know about that. But under securities laws, totally legal deal done by lots of Silicon Valley people. So there were a lot of people who bought money in a Silicon Valley operation and said, oh, well, great businessman X has his whole fortune in this company. If he thinks it's solid, then I'm going to put money in it, not knowing that actually that person no longer had any financial interest in the company because they had gotten cashed out legally without telling anyone.
Wow. Wow.
I've failed in my efforts to get Congress and the SEC to address that and rewrite the law.
Yeah, I mean, that's clearly a huge loophole in the law. Here's a question for you, David Cay Johnston. Again, if you have anything, Kim, Mark asked David Cay Johnston about Trump Tower Chicago and Deutsche Bank for giving of $250 million due from that project.
Yeah, it's DCJ, Kim.
Yeah,
but,
it is DCJ.
Not DCJ. DCJ. Pronounced K, but it's spelled C-A-Y.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right amount of money. Trump had a $40 million loan. He tried to get out of it when the market collapsed in 2008, calling it an act of God or force majeure, the legal phrase. And he lost on that, but he was able to beat back Deutsche Bank to some degree on the interest. But Donald has a whole life history of borrowing money and not paying things back. And the total he's borrowed and not paid back is well north of $1 billion.
The point made here from Chris from Menlo Park, David Cay Johnston, Trump got his New York judgment reduced by 60% by the New York Appellate Court. How can they say with a straight face that all people are treated equally before the law? Other folks wouldn't get that.
Yeah, well, Chris, that's not what happened. The judgment for the persistent fraud is unchanged. If Donald loses on appeal, he will still owe $353 million and interest at 9% on the various dates the judgment applies to. Right now, with interest, he's pushing around $460 million. And by the way, I said earlier, 7 figures, it's 8. If you pay $87,000 a day, you're north of $20 million, close to $30 million a year, not a single million. So what the court did is lowered the money he has to post to prevent foreclosure. That's not a reduction. Now, he could, from the state court of appeal, get a reduction. The court could look at the case and say, we looked at the judge's math and we think that it's not what we think is right. And instead of $353 million, they could come back and say it'll be $310 or some number like that. But there's nothing that suggests in the record, as I've read it, and many other people I've appeared on TV with or I've talked with who are lawyers who practice in this area, that would result in overturning the decision.
This is interesting about Kushner, the implication from Vilma. Trump's son-in-law has $2 billion, David, from the Saudis. Right. That's who Trump should look to. I think
that his son-in-law and his daughter have been doing their very best to separate themselves from Donald. They've snubbed him in public. She managed to get out of the persistent fraud case. And I think they intend to do everything they can to stay away from Daddy and stay away from whatever follows, because they want to go on and have a life without being pariahs, that's the risk that they're running.
And that is the price they paid. They paid a huge reputational price for being in that White House. Yeah. And it's a really good point. This is from Lori. Makes me want to buy a share just to be able to be part of a lawsuit when the inevitable shady trade happens.
Have at it. Understand something. Donald's company, $5 million of revenue. That's not profits. It lost $49 million last year, at least. And it's been bid up to $8 billion. I mean, there's irrational exuberance, and then this is completely crazy.
Well, here is the point I was making. I was kind of alluding to GameStop last hour, and here you go from Wes. Truth Social stock will be like GameStop stock in a couple of weeks. I don't know if that's true, David, but you're right. It's being held up by people who are just buying into Trump, his brand, in effect.
Yeah, I don't know when the stock exuberance will come to an end, but if it hasn't come to an end by the night of November 5th, that is when the markets open on November 6th, if Donald loses, it'll collapse immediately. If he doesn't get back to the White House, it will collapse. And Donald has tried in his surrogates to compare Truth Social to TikTok. There's no comparison at all. Donald posts screeds there. TikTok is full of, frankly, very interesting stuff. A lot of salacious, crappy stuff, but it's got, cat videos, which a lot of people like, and they're a good way to clear your mind, and all sorts of other things. People doing extraordinary acrobatic things like break dancers used to do on the sidewalk in San Francisco and New York and LA. And there's nothing like that on Truth Social. And there's no ad base for Truth Social of any consequence. So, I could be proven wrong, but I'm really not concerned that that's going to happen.
The one thing I would say, it's interesting, David, and I wanted a quote from your piece, which I really like. Again, it's in the New Republican. We will have a link to it because it just sort of speaks to the crescendo that is this moment in Trump's life. But part of that crescendo, it seems, David, is that he's taken his brand, which is this brand of grievance and anger and, us versus them. And, it seems so basic and crude. And yet he's created it to the point that I think some of this Truth Social thing is, as you sort of noted, enthusiasm for Trump. It's like they want to send money somewhere where it gets to him.
We don't know who's buying this stock. We do know there are people saying on the internet, I'm supporting Donald by buying this stock. It could be, and I want to be very clear, I'm blue skying here. But for all we know, it could be MBS who's having people buy the stock, or Putin. The Securities and Exchange Commission can and will know if it wants to, because all of these trades are recorded. But of course, they would only then know who the nominal buyer is, not who put up the money in the background. If the stock collapses, one of the stories you're going to see after it does is all sorts of people who said, well, I don't have very much money, but I put all my savings into this stock to support Donald, and now I'm going to lose my trailer home.
Yeah, honestly, I see that big time. And you saw it in the election when Latinos voted for Trump, and then members of their family ended up on deportation lists. It was crazy. Those stories were everywhere. I saw something that
somebody fixed my math. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Elwood Kelp. I knew it was around
Kelp. Fix your map. 87,000 a day is 31.7 million, not 26
Thank
million.
you. Thank you very much.
That's it. Yeah, welcome. We have. I'm being kept honest every day on this show, and it's scary. Cecilia Rose.
When I was a child, my mother used to trot me out in front of people and have me multiply 4 digits by 4 digits. And I remember the day I couldn't do it anymore. And I thought, boy, I'm a lot happier.
Yeah, no more parlor tricks for this kid. David, I love the way most days you wear sweatshirts or T-shirts on Mark's show, and then you clean up when you're on CNN.
Actually, I was trying to get Syracuse orange. This is as close as I've got, except for my orange Dickie, which is in the wash.
Really, really great. Well, I wonder, David, if some of the entities that are wanting to curry favor with Trump might rescue him a bit on this Truth Social thing. I don't know.
I mean, Jeffrey Gass has a real clear financial interest in Donald Trump. He owns 7% of ByteDance. That is most of his $25 billion fortune, or a very large share of it. And if TikTok is banned or it's sold for anything less than what I'm sure is an extraordinarily profitable future, he would be harmed. And so he has every reason in the world to help Donald Trump on reasonably favorable terms to Trump. Yeah, there you got an image up of Mr. Yaz.
Yeah.
Gambling. Yes, right.
Right. Well, I'm sure that he can gamble at another level. I played cards with a couple of those big deep pocket guys, and they're on a different level for sure. But You outline, and then I'll let you go here. You're so kind to give us time. But the fortune, when he announced his second run for president 9 years ago, he ran briefly in 2000. Trump told us over and over he was worth more than $10 billion. He said he was so rich that he could spend $600 million of his own money on the 2016 campaign. And he said he wouldn't need to solicit donations. That, he said, assured the American people that he was not the servant of donors slurping up tax dollars from the federal trough. Now, he's a beggar, you say. And while the small donors won't have any power over him, anyone who comes up with 9 figures of cash certainly will. And now, David, you've put some specifics on that. The actual people who will come up with that cash. It is bizarre that he ran quite credibly on the I'm the rich guy. It was like a Ross Perot thing, and I'm rich enough that I won't be beholden to any of these interests. And then in the end, of course, it's pay to play with his hotel and other ways to line his pockets.
And if people read that story at the New Republic, and I hope they do, they will see there's 2 cinematic references to Donald that I think lay out pretty well the reality of the situation. But Donald just always makes this stuff up. And a principle of Donald's is that if he says it, that makes it so. And if you don't buy his version of events, even if he contradicted himself 30 seconds later, fake news. The problem is you. And Donald put almost none of his own money into the campaign in 2016. He relied on donors. Of course, he relied on donors. And he's doing it now. I mean, he literally does. You can find on the internet where he makes an appeal to people. Can you send $5, 10, maybe even 25? And there's some meme out today. I got a couple of pictures from people that show some poor guy in falling apart clothes next to his wife and her duster, and the 4 little kids running around a rundown trailer covered with rust. About giving their money to Donald. I don't have money for a lot of things, but I give my money to Donald. And it is astonishing that people will do that. On the other hand, we had a preacher 3 or 4 years ago who said, I need a bigger jet. God wants me to have this jet, and show pictures of it, and I need $54 million to buy this private jet. And people gave him the money. So, you can do what you want with your money. It's your money, but you do have to wonder about the sensibility or lack thereof of a lot of Americans.
It is really a great column. And as David says, there are a couple of great cinematic references that just are laid out so well. There it is. Today is the day that 50 years of grifting finally comes to an end. Unless Donald Trump comes up with $454 million, now, of course, as you know, that number's been reduced, he's in deep doo-doo. But will his backers ever wake up to reality? You state it so well. It's really... There's almost an elegance to your column, and we'll have a link to it in this video and on this show. Hey, David, thank you so much. We love seeing you everywhere, and most of all here, and we look forward to the next time.
Talk to you next week.
Okay,
Take
David
care.
Cay Johnston, everybody. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I love it. I am seeing a couple of things, and I wonder if I can speak to them, Tony. I'm seeing that there was some... Did you see that comment about some irregularity with the first hour Mark's Madness showdown? Did you see that, Tony, or not?
What do you mean?
No.
Scandal.
It's very
Possibly.
Here's the results. We stopped it.
Here are the results.
At the top of the hour.
No, I don't know
You had
what the
404
issue
votes.
was. There an issue? I don't know what
that I saw.
In the Mark's Madness Sweet 16, producer has no idea. That was this one, right?
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
It beat out in live voting now. Remember, this is not the end of the voting. This is only live voting. Which one of you only got 38%?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Yeah, so the poll is complete in the live voting, but I don't know what the issue was. You can vote until midnight tonight in the community section of YouTube, but I don't know. I thought I saw somebody say it was the wrong. I don't know. Do you have a bracket? I'll go look at the brackets, but and then the commissioner's on the case tomorrow. But we have 2 different drops going up against each other now.
I can't believe it! Mark's Madness.
Yeah, it's a turbo vote. You've got to get on it. you'll vote either for...
What can you tell us about the scene?
Larry King's scene. Or...
What?
Oh! It's Larry King.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Or Oprah's what?
What?
Only one moves on. You can vote till the end of the show and then till midnight tonight in the community section of YouTube. So, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'll be honest. That's a tough one. I don't know who to bank on in that particular showdown. But I know who I want to have win, but I don't want to say it because I know that will influence the voting. And I'm not wanting to influence the voting.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at the... Well, I'll update after Kim's news. I'll update the standings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll also update the vote. But right now, it's Larry King's scene, which is the 20th seed, against the 4th seed, which is Oprah's what? So,
What?
Yeah. And that.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Look at that. It's a dead heat. 52%. Larry King's scene is leading Oprah's what? Wow.
What?
Exactly, Oprah. I know. What was Larry King's favorite restaurant? It was Duke Zebert's place, wasn't it? Duke's. We're going to go to Duke Zebert's. And he also went to Cantor's in Los Angeles, I think, the deli. I don't know. You know, if you're so worried about influencing the outcome, Mark, then please stop influencing Chit as the grand winner.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. I didn't realize I was doing that.
What?
Yes, I didn't realize it. But I will, I'm doing the best I can not to influence the outcome. Because there is a huge, huge prize at the end of it all, which has yet to be determined.
Well,
but
and
I'm
you
sure
say,
it will be huge.
You say usually when you say you're in support of something, people do go the opposite way, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. People want to bring me heartbreak. That is what I've learned in life. And you'll learn it. The people you think are your friends, you trust them. They're the ones who ultimately will let you down. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. These are the tough truths, everybody. These are the tough truths. You find once in a while a remarkable person like myself.
Do you know who I am? Yeah. I'm kind of a big deal.
I'm loyal, and I am I'm true blue. But I'm an outlier. One of a kind, many would say. Maybe not many would say it, but a couple of people might say it. Maybe one or two people would say it. Yeah. Anyway, all right, look, Kim's news. Smash the like button like a boss.
It with your iron rod.
Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Really great day with David Cay Johnston. We've also covered a lot of news today, and we will continue. Speaking of news, Kim's news, and then back to a story about California and how elections have radically changed in this state. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Let's start with the crew on the ship that crashed into a bridge in Baltimore. We know now, according to the governor of the state, that this ship issued a mayday call right before it hit this bridge. President Biden is saying today that the federal government will bear the full cost of rebuilding this Francis Scott Key Bridge after its collapse, and he said he expects Congress to support his efforts, so they better line up behind him on this one. He says he wants this bridge rebuilt. As I love David Cay Johnston coming in and breaking news here on the show. Awesome. The New York judge presiding over Donald Trump's upcoming hush money trial is imposing a gag order on the former president. The order prohibits Trump from publicly commenting on witnesses, prosecutors, and court staff. The move comes as the former president's trial is scheduled to begin April 15th. Trump pleaded not guilty last year for allegedly covering up $130,000 in hush money payments to adult film actress Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election. Speaking of Donald Trump, he is now one of the 500 wealthiest people in the world. He joined Bloomberg's list today after the Truth Social, the social media platform he started, went public, netting him billions of dollars in stock options. So Trump owns nearly 59% of this new company, and that boosts his net worth by about $4 billion. Can't get out that money just yet. He can't sell a stock for at least 6 months, but on paper, it's looking pretty good for the old Trumpster.
Wow.
There's never been anything like this.
Well, it does help his bottom line. We'll see what happens between now and 6 months from now when he can dump this stuff. I thought it was fascinating. If you didn't follow it or you didn't catch it, David Cay Johnston explained how he can backdoor some of this stock with a wealthy donor, and in so doing, get money now from the stock, even though technically he's not supposed to be able to get any money now. It was really interesting. And so there are ways. There are ways.
Getting someone else to take the risk, right?
Well, yeah, and then that person can insure their risk by shorting the stock, et cetera. So,
over at the Supreme Court, they've heard arguments today on this case that could limit access to the abortion pill Mifepristone. Some more information on this story now. The justices are reviewing an appeals court decision blocking recent FDA changes that made this medication more widely available. So Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar argued on behalf of the Biden administration, claiming that this ruling would inflict grave harm on women across the nation. And Mark, as you mentioned earlier, Aaron Hawley, who represents a doctors group suing the FDA, claimed the agency unlawfully removed critical safeguards for the use of this drug. She argued if complications emerge from medication abortions, anti-abortion doctors could be forced to choose between helping a woman with life-threatening conditions and violating their conscience. So, these are a little look into some of the arguments. Oh, big news.
And by the way, let me. I'm sorry, I'm trying to resist saying anything, but let me just say something about this Mifepristone case that's before the Supreme Court. It is very likely that the court, even as ridiculously stacked as it is to conservatism and religiosity and this anti-women stance that I think this court has taken, it is very possible they'll push back on this because of standing. They call, whether the plaintiff has standing. Standing means simply, do you have legitimate connection to the case going on? That's what standing is. So you'll need to show how you'd be damaged, would be another way to put it, by this law. So they're suggesting, I think in a lot of the stuff that I've read, that there isn't sufficient standing on the part of Hawley and those who are the plaintiffs here. The Hawley's just a lawyer, but that might be the reason that this Supreme Court, even as jacked up as they are, might push back on this attempt to eliminate Mifepristone from being available through the mail, et cetera.
You have a lot of faith that I don't have in the Supreme Court, so.
Oh, I don't have faith in them at all, but I'm saying that this even might be a bridge too far for them. So we'll see.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has picked his presidential running mate. Today, The Independent told a crowd of supporters in Oakland, California, that 38-year-old attorney and tech entrepreneur Nicole Shanahan is his choice for vice president. The move could give Kennedy's long shot bid for the presidency an influx of cash and possible momentum as he aims to get on more state ballots.
Well, this is huge, and I will, if we can do it, I will book a guest who knows a lot about this, but Nicole Shanahan is a real competent, solid, good person who is what? Rich, super rich. She's the ex of one of the Google founders. And even though there was a prenup, she still walked away with a lot of money. Why is that important? Because it can help with RFK's money and his campaign. And in fact, she paid, I think, for half of what was the commercial that ran, the RFK Jr. commercial that ran during the Super Bowl. So what's the other aspect of her that's so impressive? She knows her stuff. She's like the opposite of Trump. She really knows her stuff on environment, on any number of issues that are affecting this country. And
then why would she be running with him then? Because he doesn't know his stuff.
Well, where they do overlap is on environment. You know, RFK Jr. is an environmental attorney, and he's been an environmental activist, and perhaps they met that way, or at least bonded over these things. And it is. They do have extreme views on certain things, and they're going to have to answer for those things. But that said, she's an articulate and studied person, such that she might help him and his credibility. So I will see. I don't know. Again, that's the kind of person who would siphon votes off of Biden. All right. RFK Jr., conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer, he might siphon votes off of Trump. Either way, a third-party participant and a third-party ticket like this would likely not be a good thing if you want to see Joe Biden reelected.
Well, it'll be interesting. I don't know if it'll make a difference, but it was kind of expected that she would be named. Apparently she was born in Oakland, so she's from this area. And as you mentioned, she's a Silicon Valley tech person. So,
well, her story too. I mean, her mother emigrated from China. Her father had schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. I mean, his story, her story. I'm talking about the mother and father. They're crazy. Like she really did come from sort of regular stock or whatever. But anyway, she had to work bussing tables when she was 12 years old. Her story is kind of compelling. It's the opposite of RFK Jr., who, as you know, was a Kennedy,
right,
or is a Kennedy. So I'm just saying that she has some very, very impressive things in her profile and in her resume, and you're going to hear more about her. That's why I think it's worth a moment focusing on her. And I will have a guest who really knows her and knows this world of the third party. I'll have that guest in a little bit later this week if I can possibly work out the logistics. I promise it's coming as soon as he can do it.
Let us move now to this story about insurance in California. A lot of people getting their insurance policies canceled. As we know, the state of California today is taking steps to try to stabilize the market for homeowners insurance after a major carrier announced it will stop insuring thousands. Last week, State Farm said it would not renew 72,000 homeowners policies here in California, citing the rising cost and the risk of disasters like wildfires. So the State Department of Insurance is scheduling a public meeting to discuss new regulations aimed at making it easier and more appealing for companies to insure homeowners in the state. Several of California's major property insurers have either restricted or just completely stopped accepting new homeowners insurance applications. State Farm ceased offering new homeowners policies in California last year. They also jacked up their rates. The company is the second largest provider of homeowners insurance here in California. The state knows they've got to do something. As mentioned earlier, the whole Diddy case, well, a little more information. Diddy's alleged drug handler is facing charges after being arrested in Miami on Monday. TMZ is now reporting that Brendan Paul was taken into custody after officers found drugs in his travel bags after federal law enforcement agents searched Diddy's private plane at a Miami airport. The search happened as the Department of Homeland Security conducted raids at Diddy's Los Angeles and Miami homes. So Paul was named in a lawsuit filed by a former male employee of Diddy's that alleged the rapper and businessman sexually assaulted him. Diddy has denied the allegations made in this lawsuit, so the plot thickens there. There he is. Yes, we have a passing to note.
That was
today.
that flash was the
man,
the alleged drug
handler.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There is a passing to note today. This is Ron Harper. You may remember him from the Planet of the Apes. He passed away at the age of 91. His daughter is telling The Hollywood Reporter he passed away at his home in California last Thursday. During his very long career, Harper was featured in a variety of TV roles, including he was in Land of the Lost, 87th Precinct, he was in Wagon Train, and yes, Planet of the Apes as well. So Ron Harper passes away at the age of 91. This report is sponsored by you, which means we do rely on you to help us support The Mark Thompson Show. Please find us at themarkthompsonshow.com. It is themarkthompsonshow.com. It is right there, rolling by. And that's where the Patreon link is and the PayPal link. Also, the super sticker and super chat open here on YouTube. So thank you for all the ways that you keep this show going. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
I come from regular stock.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
Big shout out.
Don't ever use that word.
What are the porn stars doing, Mark?
And this is their new hoax.
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
What you say is the political dogma that they're trying to shove down our throats.
Straight up right in, no problem.
I blame you.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Receive the rod of equity and mercy.
I don't wear a mask for the same reason I don't wear underwear. Things gotta breathe.
I stand corrected.
Say what?
Thanks, Tony.
Do you have a secret talent?
You get nothing. It was great. I loved it. Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Did you really just do that?
What up, everybody? It's great to have you here as we finish up. We got another little chunk of time here, and I have... First of all, it was so cool to see. We do have an update on Mark's Madness, and so without any further delay, I want to get to it. This is the tightest showdown we have seen. Only one of these drops can go on to the next round. This is Mark's Madness, the Sweet 16. Yeah, you vote for either Larry King's Scene.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Or you vote for Oprah's What?
What?
Mm-hmm. And again, Larry King's Scene, which was leading.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Is now behind by, what is it, the 2 percentage points?
What?
Mm-hmm. You can vote till midnight tonight in the community section of our YouTube channel. Yeah, this is right now. There was a question about updating the brackets. And I've just been in touch with the commissioner who, has been back and forth to Taiwan and all of this other stuff. Albert says that he will update the brackets and that he is sorry that the brackets haven't been updated quite yet. But he's saying that he is going to update the brackets. So I have to take him at his word. The brackets will be updated. There's no way I can cleanly update who's where on the leaderboard until that is updated. I want to thank Beth. No 420, she says. It's a $20 super chat.
Big shout out.
Who needed the city? What happened to the pioneers? Exactly. There was no city sanctioned 420 in the early days. Beth is right. They were just a bunch of hippies from Marin who made it happen. And now the city's involved, and now it's canceled. And again, if you missed it, this is an annual event. It started in Marin County, which is just north of San Francisco. And it's become this big thing with stages and food and lots of 420 related things. And so essentially what happened was that they ran out of sponsorship opportunities and possibilities.
Where are my weed smokers at?
I mean, apparently the cannabis business is a little bit under pressure these days. So, but Beth's saying, hey, we don't need an organized thing. We can just get out there and do it.
Go back to the roots, right?
Yeah. Couple of, there it is. Look at that, man. It's a ton. I mean, 20,000 people show up for that. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do something about the high-speed rail in California, and hang on a second, couldn't find it online, so I old-schooled it, but I don't think I have the whole piece with me. But I just want to tell you this. Here's the bottom line on the high-speed rail. Now, I mean,
The Mark Thompson Show.
You can say what you want about the high-speed rail, and now we know a lot, right? Like that they're cost overruns, and it seems like they're probably, it's corrupt, and, when you're running billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars over budget the way they are, something sketchy's going on. Mm-hmm. But they have made progress. They are a decade off schedule. This is the high-speed rail, again, to remind you, from San Francisco to L.A. I mean, it's the kind of thing that should be in place. If you go to Europe, they have that stuff, right? We're a car state, so we have, some north-south routes that you can take by car. But even if those north-south routes are kind of, they're not what they should be. They're not, super highways between the north and south. There is the high-speed rail map. We're showing it to you now. Mm. So the idea behind California's high-speed rail train was that it was going to feature an indoor play area for kids, seating options that would allow people to meet as a group or cocoon in various reading nooks. It was all pitched as really terrific, They released drawings of the imagined interiors, the station platforms. They had video walkthroughs of a model train car. There was this glimpse into this transit system that was going to be just transformational. It's going to be great in the state of California.
I like a good cocoon. I could go for that.
Yeah. Well, some progress has been made in the last 15 years, they note. The timeline for completion has moved back more than a decade, and cost estimates have grown by the billions. Transit experts and state policy advisors have continued to question how the project will be paid for. The proposed cost has increased without guaranteed funding sources. Ridership, rail ridership has dipped during the pandemic. So you have schedules stretching out, estimates are becoming more bloated, and funding sources are like non-existent. This is what's going on with the high-speed rail project. It is a real question, and it is hard to, what is this I'm seeing? Ms. Organic, our terrain in California makes it difficult to have a good transit system in place. I don't know about that. I mean, what's so tough about the terrain between Los Angeles and San Francisco? Can't you, the terrain, if you've driven the 5 freeway, right? If you drive that freeway through the Central Valley, that terrain seems pretty doable. And that's a lot of the terrain that actually would be taken up by this train. I mean, I think, and I hate to point to Europe again, but if you look at Europe, it's not like it's one big flat place. They deal with terrain. You can build a high-speed rail in California. I'd suggest that the problems are associated with planning, funding, and with contracts and contractors that have taken advantage of the situation.
Do you feel like we're so invested in it now? I mean, we've poured money into it. The ground has been cracked, right? The work's already, for years, they've been working on this and work is being done. That now we're in it, and no matter how much it costs, now we just have to just go for it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this reminds me of a lot of projects that many of us have been involved in where you have a contractor doing a remodel for you, and then they come to you and they say, I don't know. We're going to have to redo all this electric. It just isn't going to work. I mean, it's and what is that? What's that going to cost? And then they tell you the number, and it doesn't matter what the number is because you need to do it.
Yeah.
Or we just discovered this when we did the demo, and now we discovered this, and it's going to be this much more. You're so far in at that point that there is no turning back. I've been there a million times, and then you can feel as though there is out and out corruption on the part of the contractor. But you can pull the contractor off the job, and you bring new contractors into now what is a 3/4 of the way finished job, and they bid that job. And they go, well, that's not the way, this was all done badly. This is going to have to be redone. You know what I mean? We've all done some version of this dance or seen a version of the dance. And so, yes, I think we're in too far to not go through with it.
And to win it now.
Yeah.
The state of California needs to buy some Mega Millions tickets. Right?
Ain't it true? There was something that happened as a result of
The Mark Thompson Show.
Of the vote last time, and it's pretty wild. Shout out to Southern California. They did a kind of X-ray of what voters in LA County did.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. In the primary election, here's a question for you. Of the 1.65 million residents who voted in the election, now I've kind of tipped it already, actually. Well, maybe not. What percentage of the people who voted, this is in Southern California, in LA County, what percentage of them voted mail-in? What percentage of the people in Southern California, where the weather was good, they could have easily voted in person, what percentage voted mail-in? Because this is really instructive for the whole state of California and the future of voting. That's why I asked this question. And of course, Trevor in Hollywood says 11,780. 68% said, 65% said Pauline, 68% said Wes, 75% says Liz, 80% says Sandy. That's it, 80%.
That's huge.
It sure is.
Wow. I mean, if that doesn't say that this is more convenient for people, if we're trying to make it easier for people to vote, then maybe this is the way.
I mean, it's pretty astounding that the jump in mail-in has been that much, because in the last 2016 presidential primary, 36% used mail-in. We went from 36% in LA County to 80%. So I just think that this voting by mail is something that everybody is getting hip to. Now, the state mailed a ballot to every voter because of COVID-19 in November of 2020. That happened. In that election, about 79% of those who voted did it with a mail-in ballot. The next year, California legislators passed a law mandating that all voters be sent that mail-in ballot. And the March 5th election was the first presidential primary since that law went into effect. And the vote-by-mail ballots, and historically, those are more conservative voters, older voters. No. 80% of the people voted mail-in. And they weren't all conservative. A lot of libs won in districts that were running for city council, et cetera. It was Democrats and people who are generally leaning liberal. Anyway, this is a trend that not only will continue, but it should continue. You know where I feel we really let down the vote. It shouldn't be on a weekday, the vote. A lot of people can't vote. And I get that many states offer you the option of voting multiple days, but it's tougher and tougher. And part of the voter suppression movement is actually offering you fewer days to vote and fewer ways to vote and fewer places to vote. So I'm a big believer in mail-in voting, and it is a clean way to have a legit vote and it appears that it doesn't have any kind of political leaning. So it is very possible that this is the future, and I'm hoping that it is adopted, because I think more and more that is the way to go. So bravo mail-in voting and mail-in voters.
I like that you can, even if you didn't mail it, you can just you can fill it out at home and take your time and do your research and look at things and then drop it off the day of. Easy.
Yeah, we do. That's what we do in our house. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Did you see this? This is crazy about child labor.
Oh.
This happened in Tennessee.
I mean, there's a lot of child labor at my house, I will say. I mean, you know, I teach people how to do the laundry and the dishes, you know.
That's true. Yeah, you've got to, You've got to bark those orders, Kim.
Kim, how are you?
By the way, there's somebody who was, let me see if I can find it. Somebody was
I don't want him to grow up too soft, you know.
I got so, you know, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. I'm having some issues with some technical issues, a lot of technical issues with stuff. Not related to like what we're doing right now, but I mean related to the channel, et cetera. So, so it was in the middle of that I get this. You know, I tell you, I will look at the after-hour commenting and I will try to respond if I can. So yesterday, I guess I said, and I was kidding around with you like we always do. You give me a hard time, I give you a hard time.
Yeah.
And I said something about Kim, maybe I said Kim's getting a little mouthy today or something like that. I forget what you said, but I mentioned mouthy. Was it true? Was I mouthy? I mean, that's a compliment. I would rather be a mouthy girl than be like a wallflower that says nothing. I'll take mouthy. Yeah, there.
Kim, how are you?
All right. But no, but it was done in good-natured kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
I said, she said, I hope you were kidding about Kim being mouthy, Mark. Her comment echoes many other women's thoughts. Wow.
Good day, sir.
Yeah. So I, because I can't take anything and I said, please, it wasn't clear I was kidding. Come on. I said, I'm an advocate for women, and I think I really am an advocate for women and women's issues on this show. And I said, we can't give each other a hard time on our show without this kind of reaction. I said, Kim walks all over me and gives me grief, which is great. But I can't, if I can't have a foil on the show without triggering people, then it's sad and no fun anymore.
I am the one that said, chit, 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 close the marky mouth. I believe that was me.
I don't see, you know, it was I don't know.
I give it back. I mean, you know.
I think you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I have to rethink it. I'll have to have a sit down with myself. Think about the future.
I don't ever remember a time when one of us said something and then at the end of the show, well, maybe close the marky mouth. But other than that, at the end of the show where someone was mad at the other person, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a real chauvinistic word, Mark, says Citizen Swain.
Oh.
A trigger for us ladies.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good day, sir.
Okay.
Maybe that's why I think it's a badge of honor if someone calls you mouthy. Or what was Trump? Did he call the nasty woman? Sure. I'll be the nasty woman. I'll be the mouthy.
Don't get it.
I don't. I guess I don't. I'm sorry. I used a trigger word.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That'll teach ya.
I love the repartee, says Beth. Thank you. Close the Mackie mouth. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Well done.
Yeah. It's a, anyway. Well, maybe the lady was right. Rain. But it did bum me out, so I did respond. So I probably bit back a little too hard. But it's just like, God. It's just like every little thing can be a trigger. And it's pretty crazy. But anyway, do you feel the love between you? Well, that's nice.
That's good.
No.
There's a lot of love. There's a lot of love going on.
Yeah, exactly.
It was great. I loved it.
All right. So quickly on kids and labor, and then update of Mark's Madness, and the bracket has been updated. I just got a note from Albert. In Tennessee, a Tennessee parts manufacturer from major companies, including John Deere and Yamaha, has been ordered to turn over $1.5 million in profits. The Department of Labor found children employed in dangerous jobs at the company. A Morristown manufacturer of outdoor power equipment components for major companies like John Deere, Toro, Yamaha. Yeah. They've been ordered to stop employing children illegally and to follow federal child labor laws in the future. They're going to pay $1.5 million to compensate victims. They'll also be fined, the company, $296,951 for subjecting 10 children to oppressive child labor. During their probe, investigators said they obtained clear evidence when they observed a child operating a power-driven hoisting apparatus, an occupation prohibited for workers under the age of 18. They identified temporary workforce employees at the Tough Torque facility that were subject to child labor violations.
This is like, what the whole reason unions were formed, right? I mean, this is like stuff of old.
Right.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, these kids are what? Undocumented.
Oh, no.
This is the gray economy that is right there. There's a huge gray market in restaurants, in landscape companies, in a lot of these factory jobs, in slaughterhouses for people who are undocumented and their children. And you have it here. So last year, the Labor Department investigated 955 cases of child labor violations, almost 6,000 children nationwide, and over 500 of those kids were employed in violation of hazardous occupation standards. So it's a real problem. And they caught this company, but there are plenty others out there. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Let me quickly check the leaderboard on Mark's Madness. Larry King Scene has overtaken Oprah what?
What?
I know. I can't believe it either.
It's a little surprising.
What can you tell us about the Scene?
What can you tell us about the Scene?
Has 51% of the vote. Oprah what?
What?
Only has 49% of the vote. Wow. This is a huge upset in the making. You can vote until midnight tonight. I don't know. I'm loath to say anything, but I will say I'm surprised. What's that, Tony?
This one's definitely going to get decided in after-hours voting.
Yeah, after-hours voting.
Yeah,
this will be in the community section of our YouTube channel. But Larry King.
It's like a Prop 1 situation. I mean, this is neck and neck, really.
You're right. A very good point. I think that's a decent reference. It is very Prop 1-ish. I was trying to find the latest. I can't find the. Here it is. I think he updated it. Let me take a look. Mark's Madness updates. No. I don't see. Which one of you and Oprah what are still alive in the community section? That was the first hour.
Yeah.
First hour is producer no idea, and
you're right. Producer no idea. I can't tell what he's done here. Oh, God. Albert will be here tomorrow, and we can sort this out. Again, producer no idea which one of you was the first hour, and it's still live in the community section. Larry King Scene versus Oprah what? That's still live in the community section too, and also still live here technically for another minute or two. Yesterday's winner, Good Day Sir, beat Sayonara, and Chit 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 beat That's Not Fake. Good Day Sir and Chit 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 are headed to a real showdown probably. We should do a show.
And here it is in the community tab right now. You can vote and see.
Oh, you can vote right now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wes says you should do a show dedicated to the origins of each tribe. That would be fun. What's that, Tony?
I say you just go to our YouTube channel. It says community tab, and there they are right there. Pick which one you want. There you go.
There you go. Lee makes a good point. He says Larry used 8 words. Oprah used only 1 word. She wins by the power of word.
Yeah.
I never even thought of that.
What can you tell us about the Scene?
Yeah. She just says,
what?
The what is so perfect for so much, but I also understand people love Larry King. So Trevor says, stop the count. Larry King's scene over Oprah, what? 51% to 49%.
What can you tell us about the scene?
You're beating Oprah's what, Larry?
What?
Yeah. So tomorrow we'll update the leaderboard, and we'll figure out who is where with the return of Albert tomorrow. Tony, you'll link to the David Cay Johnston piece.
Already done.
In this video, and as we drop the David Cay Johnston video.
Yes.
I know. I'm supposed to speak to a class at USC today.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, except this is how it goes from being a lofty thing to a practical meltdown. They said in like 5 different emails, please print this parking pass and put it on your, okay, so I thought, and they like after a while, it's like the 5th time they said, I got it, the parking pass. And even this morning they texted me and they said, remember the parking pass? I'm like, okay, I got it. So of course my printer's down.
Oh no.
And now I don't know what, it's like, seriously, man? Everything
you should be able to show from the phone. That worked for me when I had
Seriously, what the
yeah, I'm just saying.
Talking to the media, broadcast students, or what do you?
Yeah, they are in the media and film school and broadcast, and I don't know. I'm sure I have very little to offer them, but it'll be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. So,
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Johnson Show. Bye-bye.
I am looking forward to it, but I'm going to have to put the computer in the dashboard.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
So that they can see the parking pass. After Party Live with Kim is next. Till tomorrow. Bye-bye.